Shalom to you all, gathered at the Neman Institute to honor the memory of Tzvi Gridikes, Zichrono Libracha, and to make sure that his name and legacy will be passed on to future generations. Diana, I'm so sorry that I cannot be there physically, but my thoughts are with you, and I'm sure that Nadine will be able to transmit our strong and warm feelings for you and for Tzvi in a more personal way. I won't attempt to relate in any details Tzvi's extraordinary life story or to describe his great academic contributions. Rather, I will sketch some landmarks in both respects, and above all, I will try to draw the contours of Tzvi's remarkable personality and to portray who Tzvi really was for us, for the many students and collaborators that grew under his tutelage. As you know, Tzvi was a Holocaust survivor, but he never allowed those painful memories to distort the course of his life or depress his enthusiasm and optimism. After graduating from the Hebrew University, he studied at Berkeley and then at Chicago, where his academic career took off like a meteor. Indeed, his PhD thesis on hybrid corn, first published in Econometrica in 1957, catapulted him to instant and lasting fame. Let me remind you that until then, the late 1950s, empirical work in economics had been rather rudimentary and not a well-established research enterprise. From the beginning of his career, Tzvi was at the forefront of a small group of pioneer empirical economists that made a quantum leap forward, both in terms of methodology and data, establishing the practice of econometrics as an exciting and thriving field in mainstream economics. Tzvi was awarded the John Bates Clark Medal in 1965 at the age of 35. The medal is given every 2 years to the best economist under the age of 40. In 1969, he moved to Harvard. In 1993, Tzvi was elected president of the American Economic Association, one of the highest recognitions in the profession. In the late 1970s, Tzvi established the productivity program at the NBER and led it until his death in 1999. For 20 years, that program was the main pillar of research in the field of productivity, R&D, and technical change in the world, and Tzvi played an extraordinary role not only as the key academic figure, but also as an entrepreneur, guru, manager, and spiritual leader of the field. Indeed, one of the hallmarks of Tzvi is the extent to which he gathered around and nourished a remarkably large number of disciples, not just students in the formal sense, but followers, people that he touched, influenced, pushed, encouraged, advised. There is one item in the official biography of Tzvi that is not there, but nevertheless should be mentioned because its absence is, in my view, an affront not to him, but to the economics profession. And that is the fact that Tzvi died before being awarded the Nobel Prize, which he so much deserved. As many of you know, Tzvi was intimately connected to Israel throughout his life. He was perfectly fluent in Hebrew. He kept up with contemporary Hebrew literature. He had many friends and visited Israel very often. Moreover, he took a personal interest in Israeli students and faculty in the US. He was, for so many of us Israelis, a sort of lighthouse, a migdalor, right there, that we could see from the distance, be guided by it, and feel comforted just by knowing that he was there. Now let me try to convey to you what it meant to be a student, a disciple of Tzvi. As you know, Chabad in Hebrew is the acronym for Chokhmah, Binah, Vada'at. Chokhmah is sort of pure smart, Binah, wisdom, and Da'at, sort of true knowledge. It is safe to assume that the bunch of us that came to Harvard to study there under Tzvi were endowed with some good measure of Chokhmah. Some of us would acquire from Tzvi also some Binah along the way by osmosis, by observing him in seminars come up with the sharpest comments in such an effortless way. But Da'at, oh no, none of us would ever come close to that. Da'at is reserved for the chosen few, and Tzvi was definitely one of them. Perhaps the closest image of what Tzvi was for us is that of the Rebbe of Hasidic Judaism, the imposing spiritual leader that combines a towering intellectual authority with a radiant charisma. And as the Rebbe would have surely prescribed, the appropriate way to keep Tzvi's memory is to do mitzvot, good deeds, which in the professional context means to keep doing and to pass on Tzvi's approach, his type of research, his scholarly style. Let me describe to you one scene from Jerusalem, spring of 1991. I'm sitting on the hard steps of the amphitheater on Har HaTzofim. Tzvi is sitting on the stage, about to receive an honorary degree from the Hebrew University. Some of you were there, so you may remember the scene. At sunset, this is an extraordinarily beautiful sight. The Midbar Yehuda as a majestic background dropping all the way to the Dead Sea. To the west, the old city of Jerusalem that lights up in pink and gold at that time of the day, acquiring an irresistible aura of spirituality. There is a slight breeze coming in from the desert, disturbing Tzvi's thick gray hair, only to give him more of an imposing figure. He looks so happy, so proud. He so clearly belongs there, both to the height of the honor and to the harmonious beauty of the place. I want to keep him in my memory like that, my Mori Rabbi, my Melov, teacher and mentor, a radiant inspiration for most of what is good and worthy in our lives. Leitraot, Kol Tuv.